Hey guys, Matt here from Herbal House. Today we're taking a look at the newly arrived AC Infinity fans. In front of us we have a 6-inch 150mm and we've already pulled apart a 100mm 4-inch just to show you guys how these things tick. So what you can expect to receive is your box, obviously. When we do send these, we are black wrapping them, so it's nice and discreet, obviously. Inside the box, you get your lovely AC Infinity fan. You do get your lovely AC Infinity Controller 67 Bluetooth controller. This is the one that everyone's been raving about. We're pretty chuffed with it too. We'll be covering this a bit later in the video. We also have a very comprehensive instruction manual, a temperature and humidity probe built into one. It's got quite a bit of length on it, so it works really well in a lot of locations. And a packet including a hose clamp, some cable management ties, and a strap for hanging the fan. Alright, so taking a look at the core of the motor here, the impeller, we've got what seems like a fiberglass reinforced impeller. Looking at the way they've done the fin design, seems pretty efficient and very easy to service. The main thing that we noticed was just how quiet, of course, this thing was at the lower speed, but also when it was delivering a very high airflow, it was pretty relative to the noise. We were still quite impressed with it. So we expect this to last a long time, and obviously the motor does have quite a lot of humidity resistance deep inside the core there. Looking at the front face, we do have the AC Infinity logo and the electrical under there. I'll actually remove the cap to show you guys what's going on under there for people who care. And it does have a rubber grommet here, I don't know if you can see that, for the cables to keep the water ingress out. However, I would not suggest obviously submerging these fans or putting them outside in the rain. It is simply there to keep dust out and a bit of moisture. So I'm just going to whip that cover off and show you guys what makes these things tick below the cover. Alrighty, for those who care, what you can see going on in here is pretty standard, but also high quality. What we like to see is terminals like this that are fixed, they're screw tightened. Some of the Chinese stuff we've seen over the years, they use twist clamps and things like that that really don't hold up to much abuse, nor would you expect them to last very long. So we're quite impressed with what we see going on in here. As far as fans go, they're pretty darn good. So I'll just put that back together. Oh, sorry. And it also does have a wiring diagram printed on the back side of the plate there for people who like the tutu. Not that we recommend doing that, it's just nice to see that they've thought of that. Cool, so that's pretty much the guts of the fan. They're quite simple really, just like any inline fan should be. Serviceable as well, which is nice, can't argue with that. And I'd expect these to last a bloody long time. Now sorry, I forgot to mention, a lot of people have been importing these fans over the years until we've started offering them. And the biggest problem was the power cable. People were having to do modifications to make them suit our power system here in New Zealand and Australia. These feature a pretty much plug and play ready to go kit, so you can just whack them straight in the wall, no messing around with adapters and things like that. Absolutely brilliant. So next let's move over to the most important part, which is the controller as far as I'm concerned, so I'll run through that next. Okay, so back to the fan, we'll just run through, obviously we're going to cover the controller, but first of course we've got to make sure you figure out how to plug the thing in. The instructions provided with it are very comprehensive and do cover this, but we'll run you through. The fan has essentially two cables coming out of it. One is your power into your wall, easy as, and one is for the controller. So this controller connection cable here should go into the slot in the middle next to the temperature input one. So the idea is this cable will only go one way, just make sure, like so. Now that second input is there for controlling a second fan. These controllers can run up to 2 fans from the one controller. Fantastic, and any size fan. Now, we already have a temperature sensor out of a box here, so the idea is you take the 3.5mm jack, easy as that. The controller will not read a temperature unless that is plugged in, but it will still operate without it. Temperature sensor here, bear in mind this temperature sensor you can't quite see that, there's a slot there for reading humidity, so be aware that this does read temperature and humidity from the one. So what we'll do is we'll get this powered up and we will show you what it looks like on the face, and we'll go from there. So what you're going to want to do is obviously download the AC Infinity app, and once that has loaded up, you're going to add a device in the top right corner there, the plus sign. smart controllers at the top. And controller 67 is obviously the one you're going to have in front of you, not controller 69, so be sure to hit that. And hit start peering as long as you're within 5 feet of the device. That's going to take a brief moment to figure out what it's doing and connecting to your phone. Now bear in mind, being a Bluetooth device, you must keep within range to access the controller. It's not a Wi-Fi device, it's not going to connect to your home network, you do need to be within range of it. So straight off the bat, it's showing us a temperature, humidity, and current fan speed. This is all live data, obviously within range of the device. And the idea is you can name your device and quickly see the parameters that it's running at right now. So we're going to open up the device and just click on it. Now, once you open this up, you're going to have a set of controls here. So right here it says off, and what we're going to do is we're going to hit that and it's going to bring up the menu of things we can choose to go through. So off is off. On will allow you to just set a standard run speed. Auto is a way to cycle through temperature and humidity cutouts. If things get too hot, too cold, etc., you can adjust how you want it to run. And it does have a cycle setting, which will allow the fan to simply cycle every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however you'd like to set it. A timer to on, so it will delay X amount of time before it turns on. A timer to off, so it'll delay X amount of time before it turns off, and a schedule, so you can set it for a certain amount of run hours each day in certain times if you have noise restraints or you're looking for specific airflow requirements within a certain time period. So don't forget, at the very bottom here, you'll see we're in pretty much the settings for running the fan. Next one along, we have advanced programming. So this is for automations, like I said, so you can set this thing to run at certain times between certain parameters. We have alarms, so you can have it that the thing will, it'll physically beep at you and let you know if it's out of a parameter, if things have gotten too hot, too cold, etc., etc. Notifications to basically keep you up to date if things have changed or what it's done. Now, what I like most is the data graph. So we've just been playing around, and as you can see, it has been plotting a graph with us messing around with it, moving around the table and whatnot. This is within an hour, and don't forget, once you've connected to this device, it will synchronize the time so everything lines up with the controller. Hour, day, week, month, and year. So you've got plenty of data there to reference and keep an eye on what the room is doing or what you're looking to control. Now, top right corner, we've got the settings, so you can adjust the device name, the temperature display, Fahrenheit, Celsius, device brightness. Now, the automatic A2, A3 settings are simply adjusting depending on the brightness of the room, but you can put a fixed temperature, a brightness there. The transition temperature, this is obviously there's a lot of reading material in the manual that will cover more in depth what I'm talking about. The transition temperature is there to adjust how much the fan speed ramps up per degree that the temperature is going out of your set parameters when you're in automatic mode. Transition humidity, same sort of thing. It adjusts the fan speed relative to the temperature it's going out of its parameter. And you can calibrate the temperature, which I think is a bloody nice feature because sometimes temperature probes can be a little bit off. So if you're a bit pedantic, that's what you want. Same for humidity. So just hitting confirm there, we're going back to our data logging, and on the right, it's got a history log at the very bottom right. So don't forget, it's pretty much keeping an eye on everything that this fan is doing. It's really good stuff to know and really handy if you're away most of the time from your grow space or whatever this fan's purpose is. You can check in on it and see how it went across the day or night. Really good stuff to know. So you can start playing around with adjusting fan speeds, obviously. We've just put the fan under the table so it's not deafening people. But what you'll find is you can use the slider at the bottom to adjust these parameters, or you can simply grab them at the top and drag them around the dial, which is quite nice. Now, it does, in the bottom right here, you're probably not going to see me tapping that, but just next to the dial it's got 63% there. That's a reference on the humidity. It's just changing between displaying humidity just above the fan speed there or temperature. Really simple stuff, but you'll find this is across most of these settings. So if we quickly flick it over to auto, it's going to show you really quickly what's going on here with temperature triggers that you can easily adjust via the little menu at the bottom, humidity triggers, which you can turn on or off. And of course you can grab the dial at the top to move those around. The yellow line on the dial is referencing the current, let's say in this one here, temperature, 22 degrees, which is, I don't know if you can see that right there, 22 degrees. And if you hit the little percent icon next to the dial, it's just going to flip it over to humidity there. So it allows you to just quickly transition between the two. This also, of course, adjusts the parameters just below in the menu. So going from auto mode, you've got cycle, so you can cycle through those times like we mentioned. Of course, I do recommend having a really good read at the instructions provided. They're pretty bloody comprehensive. Time it on, time it off, schedule. So I'm just going to flick that to off. There are some really good things you can do with this controller. We're really impressed with how comprehensive this is. I think this is going to suit pretty much everyone in most applications, and from our quick testing the other day, we did find that the airflow and decibel reading of these fans is excellent. So it's going to meet most people's requirements. The only time I could really recommend a different style fan would be if you're budget conscious or you're looking for something like a centrifugal fan to move a high volume of air against a filter. We will be measuring performance of these fans on filters sometime in the near future when we get a chance. The idea being that we can do a bit of a comparison between them to find out what's really going to offer you the right performance for the airflow you're looking for. If you have any queries, please don't be afraid to give us a call, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.